Good evening, and welcome to Dan Bain's Sleepytime Mumbles. I am Dan Bain, and every episode I improvise a low-stakes podcast for you to fall asleep to. Welcome to 2024, a new year, a new dawn, a new day. I'm feeling good. This year I'm looking to continue Sleepytime Mumbles. I'm looking to keep it consistent, keep the quality at a level, and look to add some small bonuses. Now, what do those bonuses look like? I know that the mention of bonuses has whetted your appetite. Well, as always, I'm committed to one episode a month, but I'll be continuing to attempt to add a second episode every month. But, and here is the big change, friends, sleepy friends, nighttime going to sleep friends, I'm going to attempt to release every episode a week earlier for subscribers only. So, new episodes will come out 1 week ahead of time if you are subscribed to the show. Then I will release them to the general public the rest of you, and that feels like a fun little bonus. This is an experiment. Let's see if it's good, irrespective of whether you've subscribed to the show or not. You'll still have access to the 50 most recent episodes of the show, always and forever. If you would like all of the episodes of the show, if you have an unslakable desire to have variety in your putting you to sleep materials, there's coming up to 100 episodes, which isn't too bad for a guy in his house. I'm just a guy. I don't even say iHeartRadio, which many podcasts do. I think because they get, do they get money? Anyway, I don't. Yeah, so that's a bonus for 2024. I'm going to try that out for a while. Let's see if it works out. I feel like the first couple of months of this year are going to be quite hectic, and I might find it a bit of a struggle to do my bonus episode, but then I think things are gonna chill out a bit, and that'll be great. I'm looking forward to being interesting enough to listen to, but not interesting enough to stay awake to. If you want to have access to new episodes a week before the rest of the world, if that is a secret thing that you would like to be able to gloat about, you can subscribe to the show for a minimal monthly fee. It's ad-free. I know everyone else says their show is ad-free, and that's the big push, but I have not and never will do ads except for my own stuff, because then I know I can say it in a boring voice. Anyway, you could do that, but don't feel obliged to. Okay, that's something that doesn't really need to happen now. For now, put down your phone, turn off your screens, or close your eyes. Now it's time to be mumbled to sleep. Season 5, Episode 1, Granular Dramaturgical Notes on the Process of Adaptation. As those of you who have done me the favour of tuning in to my newsletter or social media channels, you will know that as of the last couple of months, my time has been absorbed with an adaptation and production of Homer's The Odyssey. In this evening's episode, I will speak in a granular manner about the process of adapting a 12-book and in this sense book don't think of it as 12 books of Game of Thrones or some such, but more I don't know, 12 novellas of poetry. 12 poetry novellas that tell the same story. I'm going to talk about the process of adapting those into a 108-minute piece of contemporary comedy theatre for 3 high-skill, high-charisma comedy actors. We will discuss in excruciating detail the choices I've made in order to make this dream a reality. First of all, let us consider the structure of the Odyssey. The Odyssey itself, the epic poem, for starters, is a bit long. So my first job was to go, what can we lose? Fortunately, a big chunk of it immediately presents itself as available for cutting. Homer's The Odyssey begins with Telemachus, son of Odysseus and Penelope, a wife of Odysseus, traveling around the Mediterranean Sea, asking people, hey, seen my dad? My dad, Odysseus. There's a lot of that. And there's a lot of Telemachus turned up at the house of whoever, and whoever was the son of whomsoever, etc., etc., so on and so forth. He who beget whom, etc. Now, is this because at the time there was a real vibe for genealogical accuracy during recounting of deeds? Or was it because poets were paid by the hour, and sometimes you just gotta fill time? A very real possibility. So I cut that out. I just got rid of it. And in and of it, we lost nearly 50% of the Odyssey. Because what are the good bits of it? The good bits of it are, let's talk about the seafaring adventures of a dude trying to make his way back home. That's the story that we're interested in, surely. So, my treatment. Let's pause for a moment. Why is Telemachus traveling around the Mediterranean Sea, trying to find his father? Simple. He has not returned from the Trojan War. You know, the war where some guy, Paris, stole away the daughter of King Agamemnon. Her name was Helen. She had the face that would launch 1,000 ships, and 1,000 ships were launched, and they were all full of real angry dudes. And they travelled to Troy and they fought a war for 10 years. Right there on the beach. But they couldn't get in. It was a stalemate. Until one man came up with an idea. We'll retreat. We'll return to our boats and hide behind the horizon. And we'll leave behind a gift, an offering, a giant wooden horse. And the people of Troy awoke in the morning and looked over the battlements, and there it was. And was there suspicion? Maybe there was. But nonetheless, they brought it inside the walls. And unbeknownst, inside the horse in the belly was a crack team of commando dudes. They broke their way out of the horse at night time during the revels. They opened the gates, and in came the Greeks. The stalemate was broken. Who came up with this idea? Who led the party? A man of slipperiness and slyness, of twists and turns, a man more of cunning than of bravery, a man named Odysseus. That is where Odysseus has gone. He's been at the Trojan War for 10 years. His military conceptualizations have won the Trojan War for the Greeks. But the others have all returned home, and he has not. Now and therefore his son Telemachus searches for him. So begins the Odyssey. But we cut all that because we aren't interested in Telemachus. We're interested in Odysseus. So, I begin the Odyssey with that moment. The gates of Troy. A horse is brought to it. A man sneaks inside. The battle is won. Then Odysseus looks to return home post the battle, but he's distracted. What is he distracted by? Memories of home. So on the beach, Odysseus reminisces about his wife Penelope setting up the driving impetus of his character throughout the piece, and also remembering his son Telemachus. This establishes both of these characters as critical in the initial beats of the piece. We'll revisit them later, but we must focus the narrative through the point of view character. The point of view character is Odysseus. Now, so in this moment of victory, we flash back to the point of departure. These are the choices I've made, not what happens in the actual Odyssey. And so in that moment, in those flashback moments, that is where we encapsulate the action of Telemachus' entire journey. We'll refer to it a couple of times later, but effectively, this is the summation of it. And then we're away. Odysseus begins to sail home. This is the journey we want to see. The journey with monsters and magic and curses, etc. Now, here is a major departure that I've made that will perhaps only seem major to scholars of the classics. But in the original, Odysseus is cursed by Poseidon, god of the sea, for his injury to Polyphemus, the Cyclops. Now, I have preempted that action and set up that Athena and Poseidon are holding or representative of the opposite sides during the Trojan War. Obviously, Athena, the goddess of Athens, etc., represents the Greeks. And then Poseidon I have gifted to the Trojans. So I preempt Poseidon's cursing of Odysseus, having him wish to curse Odysseus for the winning of the Trojan War, rather than for doing injurious harm to Poseidon's son, Polyphemus. So we begin. Odysseus is cursed. Immediately he sets forth. The first port of call is the island of the Cyclopses. Many people, perhaps, certainly myself, are unaware that there were multiple Cyclops on this island. Not just one. I always thought there was just one, but it is an island of Cyclops. He lands there. Now, astute listeners will of course realize that the first port of call of Odysseus in the Odyssey, as he begins his journey home, is not the island of the Cyclops, it's the island of the Lotus Eaters. A scene that is kind of about drug addiction. Odysseus lands on an island. His sailors and crew eat the lotus flowers. I guess it's like heroin. If they eat it, they don't want to do anything else. And when they try to leave with the people that have consumed it, they jump overboard and drown. Now, that's kind of interesting for sure, but it's not exactly action-packed, so I cut it. And I have had no regrets about that choice. Now you'll say, Dan, people taking drugs and jumping overboard, that sounds very interesting and exciting. But actually, it's not. Because you've got to set that up, you see. And the setting up of it is a lot of people being sleepy. And that is not great dramatic action. So I cut it. First port of call, the island of the Cyclops. Now, as you may or may not know, Polyphemus the Cyclops eats a bunch of Odysseus's crew. I only have 3 actors. One of them's Odysseus, one of them's the Cyclops. That means I've only got one person left to be representative of the crew. So I reduce that down to just one person. Odysseus explores the island with a friend. The friend gets eaten. That's reducing. what happens next. Odysseus escapes from the Cyclops. As per, here's the thing. Odysseus escapes the Cyclops in the story by taking his walking stick and heating it up in the fire and jabbing it in his eye. Now that's pretty brutal. And maybe a bit much for a family-friendly comedy. So I replaced it with a toothbrush. Odysseus scrubs Polyphemus' eye with a toothbrush, with Polyphemus' own toothbrush. It's still kind of blinds him. It's still kind of the same action, but it's less the sizzling heat of a cooking eyeball. That was Season 5, Episode 1. Something granular, something dramaturgical notes. As I didn't get very far. There could easily be some more of this one. Maybe I'll pick it up later in the year. Sleepytime Mumbles is produced by Noosed Octopus, Theatre, etc. under the etc. part of the brand. And it's also invented and presented by me, Dan Bain. You can follow the show on some social medias if you like, or subscribe to our newsletter. Links in the show notes. But until next time, good night. Sleep tight.